Well, hello to all of our friends out there in the Bosshole Transformation Nation. This is your host, John Brewer. Welcome to this week's episode of the Bosshole Chronicles. And this week, another Bosshole story. Not too long ago, I was speaking with a colleague of mine. Her name is Clara. It's not actually Clara. But Clara, in a previous role with a previous company, had a manager by the name of George. Well, she kind of inherited George as a manager, as you'll find out. And things did not go really well. This is a great example of a Bosshole scenario. And I asked her, I said, hey, listen, if you wouldn't mind sharing this, I know people could really take away some valuable lessons. And hopefully, any of our would-be managers or supervisors out there who are teetering on the edge of the Bosshole Zone will listen in and think, man, I do not want to make the same mistakes George made. So sit back, settle in, and listen to Clara's story about the Two-PIP Bosshole. The Bosshole Chronicles are brought to you by Real Good Ventures, a talent optimization firm helping organizations diagnose their most critical people and execution issues with world-class analytics. Make sure to check out all the resources in the show notes and be sure to follow us and share your feedback. Enjoy today's episode. Clara, it is so good to have you on the Bosshole Chronicles. Thank you so much for offering to share your Bosshole story with us. I'm going to turn it over to you so you can take us back to the beginning, set some context for us, and let us know about your Bosshole journey. Go ahead.
Sure.
Not you as the Bosshole. Obviously, you were the victim of the Bosshole. So go ahead.
So thanks for having me. To set things up. So I was with this particular company for 5 years. The first 4 years had the same position.
Okay.
About a year and a half ago, I moved. I took another position managing a team. And within that year, had 3 different managers. We kind of, reorganization and moved, and if you will.
Okay.
So myself and my coworker who managed a team also, our teams moved under this person. And day one, he, has a one-on-one, hi, how are you? All that stuff. And then says, well, I have really high expectations. So if you can't meet them, I suggest you find another job. Same conversation with both of us.
Oh, separately,
yes.
Oh.
But when we talked, we both realized he had the same conversation with both of us.
Well, welcome to the team. Oh my gosh, what a great note to start off on. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So right there, that got off to a, not so great start.
Right.
So this was towards the end of the year, and he really didn't know anything about the profession that I was in. He was about the business and the numbers, not really learning or anything. So your discipline, your function in the organization was very different than what he had previously overseen. Right.
Okay.
Right. He already had a team, but they reorged, they were combining, and they moved us under him. I guess it was supposed to be temporary.
Got it.
I think they're still under him now, but it was supposed to be temporary. So anyway, didn't really get to know the team, didn't have conversations with my team, really not personable at all. And it was towards the end of the year. So we had vacations in there, and, the business we were working for was very tough. They did not have their things in order, and we were creating learning for them, and they had no business processes. And so it was very strained, process all year that we had to deal with. And, we stated this to him, told him, what we went through, and we were really relying on him. We thought he could be that conduit between us and the business to kind of get things moving.
Okay.
So that didn't happen. So vacations happened November, December. I went on vacation, had another meeting, here's my expectations. This is what we're working towards. And kind of, told him our experience and what's happened. He went on vacation. I went on vacation. And then January hits. This was in December.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm on vacation for 2 weeks, and I get an email. I got sent a forwarded meeting invite from one of my team, somebody that's on my team. And it was a meeting with another manager that just came under him, like totally taking over what I was doing for my team, stepped in, like wanted to redesign, go down a different path than my team was doing to develop a curriculum, all behind my back. Like He did this to me, went behind my back when I was on vacation.
Oh, okay. So you're out on
Uh-huh.
on PTO, enjoying
Right.
your vacation, enjoying the
Right.
holidays, and he enlists somebody else to take over your team.
Well, the project that my team was working on, because the
Okay.
business, never got the full story from the business. So the business says this wasn't done, this wasn't done, but he never came to hear my side or to find
Okay.
out why things, like he never questioned. He
Okay.
never,
You
dug
never
deep.
checked in. Yeah, never
Right.
checked in just to see how things were
Right.
coming
Hey,
along.
I'm
Okay.
hearing this from the business. Let's talk about it.
Right.
Nothing like that. He
Okay.
never came like that. So my teammate forwards me this invite that she had because he had gone to her. She was my lead on the team. And the same thing happened to my coworker. He went behind her back when she was on vacation to her team. So they're stressing out the team, and then they're in between. But he was going to change direction, and like we were developing this curriculum. It was like a new hire, it was pretty long. It was a pretty big curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
And we had like 90 learning modules to develop in, I don't know, 6 months or something. It was pretty massive project. And he doesn't understand learning or how long things take or develop, e-learning. He didn't understand any of that, which we tried to talk through it, but he just didn't get it.
Well,
So anyway,
and to
I
that
come
point,
back from
and to that point, Clara, can I ask? All right, this is there's a theme that I'm hearing from other similar Bosshole stories, and I just want to get some clarification here. Your area of expertise and discipline is on the learning and development and professional development side of
right.
the business. This person, I don't want to make any guesses, and I think you referred to this person. His name is George. His name actually isn't George. We're using that to protect
Right.
the innocent. Finance guy.
Finance, business, process, that kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not learning and development, not professional, development or
Right.
org development,
Right.
which
So
is
didn't,
your area of
right.
expertise. Okay.
Right.
So he was now managing an area that he knew nothing about or
Right.
had very little insight and didn't, just for everybody's point, when things perhaps were not congruent, didn't come to you, just
Right.
decided, okay, that's where we are. I just want to make sure
Right.
because these things are happening in other stories, and the results are not great. So let's hear
Right.
about your results.
Yeah. So anyway, fast forward. So I come back from vacation in January. I got this meeting invite that Friday. I came back on Monday.
Okay. I bet that
And
was
this
a
was
fun weekend.
yeah. Yeah. So, and it was also, this was around the time when it was bonus and, all the compensation planning.
Right. Right.
Um, so I come back and he sets up a meeting with me, 8:30 in the morning, have the meeting. He says, well, you didn't do this, you didn't do this. I'm putting you on a performance improvement plan. And you should find another job. That's what he says to me.
Well, what is it? Is it a PIP or should I get another job?
Right.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So go ahead.
Right. So, and I was like, what? Like, this is the first I'm hearing about this. And,
Right.
there was a process in the company. First, you have the conversation,
Right.
then you go to a verbal warning. And then if none of that works, then you then you go to the PIP if just nothing's happening.
Right.
And gives me 30 days on a PIP. I'm like, what? It was crazy. And so I immediately went to HR and ER and I opened a case because it just wasn't right.
Right.
And basically, you don't put somebody on a PIP and then you tell them to find a new job. It's to coach them.
Right.
And help them
Exactly.
work through it, not to push them out. And that's what I felt was happening. Then he did that, but never set up one-on-ones after that, nothing. Like just did it and boom, that was it. So I went to, ER, I opened a case. Fast forward, I won that case because they said he did not follow the process. And they rolled it back to a verbal, which that shouldn't have even happened, but they did that.
Sure.
So that happened. So then, compensation planning happens. I had to do it for my team and everything. Again, no check-ins, no, hey, no coaching throughout this at all. And then comes March, which is bonus and everything. He gives me nothing, no bonus, no raise, zero, nothing.
Okay.
And this is based on what I did in 2022. Never had the conversations with my previous managers in 2022.
Okay.
Like I had all these great accomplishments in 2022. Nothing, no conversations with anybody.
All right.
Just I worked for him for 2 months and he made a decision. I don't know why, but that he wasn't going to give me anything. And then my coworker who moved to him also, like she got 50% of her bonus and raise. It was crazy.
Okay.
So, I fought that with HR because it's like, I deserve something. This is based on what I did in 2022 before I worked for him.
Sure.
And that was not taken into account. And between HRBP and they talked to people and I won that, but I didn't get the whole 100%, but I did get some of the bonus.
Okay.
But then to kind of backtrack a little, after the 30 days, a couple weeks go by, I hear nothing about the PIP. Oh, no, they rolled it back to the verbal. And then like 30 days go by and, we're putting out work. My team's, we're getting stuff done. He puts me on another PIP.
What did you do to him, Clara? Oh my
goodness.
gosh.
I was, and at that point, even,
before
that point, I was like, yeah, I need to find another job because
something's up.
My name is being tarnished. My record's being tarnished.
Sure.
Like, mentally I was exhausted. Physically, I was exhausted. It was an exhausting 6 months.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Talk about the anxiety
for 6 months when I did nothing wrong.
Yeah. And you're fighting and it's like a moving target because I have no idea what I've done wrong.
Right.
If you would just tell me what I did wrong, real quick, just for some, again, perspective, 4 years before that, ever any performance issues?
Nope,
not one. Okay. So we see what the common denominator is here. Okay. So go ahead.
So then he puts me on another one and I was like, I don't understand this. Like, and the business said this and the business did that. And I was like, I'm doing everything that I've been asked to do. Like, I think is like he was getting heat or whatever from the business and, was projecting it somewhere when the business was very hard to work with and they weren't doing what they needed to do. There's probably a lot of explanation that I don't have time to go into all the explanation, but it was just the art of feedback did not happen in this.
Right. Right.
The performance improvement process is there for a reason.
Right.
It's not just there to push somebody out. And that's what was happening to me. Even before the second PIP, I decided, I was going to look for another job.
Well, and actually, I have to believe that to a degree, even when he said, I'm putting you on a PIP and you should look for another job, that's probably when that seed was really planted. Okay. Yeah.
Right.
Because that's just wrong. That's crazy. Okay. So go ahead.
It's crazy. So, I was looking and I told him I was looking. He's like, okay, fine. No, even leadership above him, like nobody reached out to me. Like if I was his manager and, I had 3 ER cases open, my employee had 3 ER cases open against him, I would have questioned that. That doesn't look good, but nobody above him even reached out to me. I was just mentally, physically exhausted. My coworker also found another internal job like 2 months after we went to him. So
really?
In the 6 months we worked for him, both of his learning leaders are gone.
Okay.
Within 6 months of moving to him. When I, got this job, I wrote a long letter before I left, email to his boss, to his boss's boss, and to the HRBP. Don't know if anything ever became of it, but it's just, he was a great example of how not to be a leader and, perfect example of the Bosshole.
And we will be right back.
With employee disengagement at its highest level in 9 years, your company can't afford to miss the mark when it comes to optimizing your hiring, management, and team performance practices. At its lowest level, employee turnover costs you $11,000 per person. And those are dollars you can easily save with the right set of people analytics. Real Good Ventures is a talent optimization consultancy specializing in world-class analytics specific to your people and the critical role they play within your organization. Gain confidence in your hiring practices. Keep the boss holes from driving your talent away. Design your teams for flawless execution and create a culture that offers meaning and fulfillment. Real Good Ventures has a family of validated diagnostic tools specific to the human aspect of business, because we know that all business issues are people issues. Visit us today at www.realgoodventures.com and bring meaning and fulfillment back into your workplace.
Okay, let's get back to the program. Clara, let's back up for one sec too, because a question I'm sure our listeners have: when the first PIP was communicated, and you say you heard nothing. I mean, there was. What did you do? I mean, did you seek him out? Did you within that month, that 30-day period, like on a weekly basis, or periodically, just say, "Hey, George, what's up? Let's get together, let's talk," or were you expecting him? I mean, the expectation is that he would check in. Did you seek him out at all?
Number one, I was pretty much in shock.
Sure.
Number two, so I would send, we had eventually, he set up one-on-ones after the ER case was open, because I had said there's been no follow-up, nothing.
Right.
But I did send him like weekly status reports and things like that.
Oh, okay.
And I did, all the meetings I had with the business, and those were all set up prior to that. And they started getting good feedback. One thing he says, well, you're not, I forget the word he used, but it's like I wasn't doing things on my own. Like he says, well, I had to tell you to do this and I had to tell you to do that, which was not true at all. It's like, he didn't seek to understand. He didn't listen. And it wasn't just me. Like, he was like that with everybody. Very, very much a micromanager. Okay.
It's almost as though it doesn't matter really who it is. He's kind of made up his mind about a person, or, I have what I'm still struck by is your first conversations being, I have high expectations, so you may as well start to look for another job, as though it was like a badge of honor.
Right.
Like I'm a Bosshole and I'm really proud of it. And the reason I ask you, Clara, if you were reaching out, a lot of times, and I totally get the shock. I mean, if you've been there for 4 years with no performance issues before, and then all of a sudden something like this happens, it's like a lightning bolt out of the blue. And it's like, oh my gosh, what happened? And there's a process to follow, which clearly he didn't. That's just why I asked, because there's the shock, and then there's also the, okay, well, I'm going to give you what you need. I'm going to give you status updates.
Right.
Let's have our one-on-ones, but if he doesn't follow through with them, you can't force him to do one-on-ones. That's why I ask.
Right. And I was doing all that when he put me on the second PIP. Like, there was no reason for this other than to, hey, I put you on one, I had to roll it back, so I'm going to put you on another one,
Oh my Lord. Okay. So is George, as far as you know, is George still there in that position?
He's still there, and he's still in the same position he was in. My old team is still reporting to him, as far as I know.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Take us back to the moment when you tendered your resignation, if you don't mind. Was that super satisfying or not? Yeah. I don't know. I always like we try to keep things above the line. If we go out, let's go out on a high note, all that other good stuff. But what was that like?
It was very satisfying, because it's like, I'm finally out of this, because it takes a toll on you emotionally, physically, like, I am the breadwinner of my family, like wanting, all that going through, I can't lose my job, and, and all that. And you just mentally, you're exhausted from everything. And like crying, like my coworker and I, both of us had mental anguish for 3 months. She left like after 2 months. Right. But both of us, it was crazy.
Well, thank goodness you had each other. Yeah. Because otherwise people would not believe it. I mean, they would believe it, but it'd be like, oh, really? Is it really that bad? And you got a colleague that says, yes, this guy is a total Bosshole, and she can corroborate what's going on. Okay. So you get out of there, and this is still pretty fresh. So these wounds are still pretty fresh, and I know. I mean, the stories that we've had on the Bosshole Chronicles, these are painful. And we had somebody come on not too long ago and it's been years. And this person said, it's taken me this long to reconcile and be able to talk about it, because before I would be so stricken with frustration and anxiety, and it would just piss me off what this person put me through.
Right.
I totally get that. I mean, this is life-changing, and these people don't even seem to realize that. They think they're being, I don't know if they think they're being helpful, these bossholes, but there's nothing constructive in that. And you clearly are in a much better place.
Oh, yes.
But that is hard to go through.
Yeah. And, it was evident that he was just in this for him, because he even said to my coworker after that first initial meeting where he told us we should find another job, he's like, well, I'm the only one that's not a director under my boss. So, and this is my way to get there. So he was doing whatever he had to do to get to be a director, no matter who he had to step on, what he had to step on.
There's the impetus right there. George was not a director, and that was his ambition. Right. So instead of doing it through others, he was going to step over people and on people. Is he a director now, or is it the same? Do you know?
I don't know. At last I talked to folks, he was still not, but I wouldn't be surprised, because there are some companies, no matter what people do, they still keep climbing the ladder.
That's right. Yeah. And that is the one thing that has shocked me, that we continue to not only perpetuate bossholes. I mean, bossholes beget bossholes. And let's face it, George probably had an equally bad manager, and he's just carrying on these traits and bosshole, I don't even want to call them skills, but this nature to other people. Organizations have got to break this cycle, because it is ruining it's hurting people, it's ruining careers, and it's derailing otherwise incredibly gifted people that are suppressed because of this individual. Gosh, that's so unreal. Well, and I happen to know where you are now. You've sort of been given the keys to the kingdom. It's like, here, go build this. And it seems to me like, wow, I got away from George and I found a better place to be now.
Yeah, because, it's the trust thing. Like, I've been in this business a long time. Where I am now, they trust my skills, my knowledge, experience. Like, he had none of that. Like, I was the expert in this area. If you will. Right. My other coworker was the expert in her area. Like, he should have let us, we're reporting to you, like, and it wasn't even a permanent reporting structure. It was a temporary thing until they hired somebody. So why would you go through all this? Like, let us run with it. Yeah, we're still reporting to you. Nothing has changed about what we're doing. Let us run with it. We got it under control. I don't understand. Like, I questioned, and it even made me question like my abilities with all this. It's like, am I really doing that bad? Like, I've been in this business so long. It's like, never had anything like this before. Yeah. After all these years, it's like, what did I do within 3 months?
Exactly. That George sounds like the kind of person, Sarah, my partner and good friend at Real Good Ventures, she would refer to George as being big on the outside, but small on the inside. And that is so sad. I just think that there's a lot of that out there. And like you said, when you start questioning your own expertise or your own, it shakes your confidence. That's just patently unfair. And I'm not saying that we all can't grow. I totally get that. But at the hands of somebody who doesn't have any understanding of my field, that's very frustrating. And it's just, it just makes me crazy to hear those kinds of things.
So, I mean, to learn from this, anybody out there that has a bosshole like this, I mean, what to take away from this is feedback is so important. And to have that feedback throughout, and not just like the way it was presented to me is, put somebody on a PIP. That's not the way you do things. You have conversations, you coach. Before you actually get to that formal stage, you want to make sure you've done the conversations, the coaching. Right. Something could be going on with that person that you don't know about. this is happening, but you want to uncover that. But that just did not happen.
Well, and I think in addition to that, I mean, to draw on that takeaway, and that's great because we want to have lessons from the Bosshole Chronicles. This was a fairly large organization, correct?
Yes.
So there was a process in place. When there was a performance issue, there is a process in place.
Right.
Now, even for small organizations, you at least owe it to an individual. If there's a performance issue, number one, have the conversation. Have a very specific conversation around performance compared to clearly defined expectations, which should be established right at the beginning. And I mean, like when he said, I have very high expectations, to be like, okay, well, this is a good time for us to talk about those.
Right.
What are they? And what does success look like? He never gave you that.
Right.
And then, so even for our managers and business owners that are listening out there, just make sure that those expectations are clearly defined and that our managers are trained to establish that early on in the relationship. And I think a key takeaway too, Clara, is, wow, you really don't have a second chance to make a first impression. And George did not make a good one. Think about that very first initial conversation because it will really set the foundation for that relationship moving forward. And clearly it didn't work out. But that was, I think, more to George's fault than yours. But gosh, that's a critical takeaway for sure.
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
Oh my. Well, you know what? Well, here's another thing too. So if a manager says, this is for people on the receiving end of the Bosshole activity. Okay, well, let's talk about those expectations right now. Let's lay those out. What is expected in this role? What does success look like? But if they were to say, I think you should get another job, or I'm going to put you on a 30-day PIP and you should go look for another job. It's like, hey, just give me 30 days of runway. Pay me for 30 days. I'm out of here. I'll go today.
Right.
I mean, geez, oh man, just make it easy on the individual. Well, Clara, every time I hear these stories, I still think I've heard it all. And clearly I haven't because there's so many Bosshole stories out there, but I'm so glad you shared this with us. I'm very grateful for it. And I'm so glad that you're in a much better place because you know what, if you want to get a sense of how your work life is, look at how your personal life is on Sunday night, because I would imagine Sunday evenings at your house before when you were working for George, probably not too fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I dreaded Mondays. Good thing was I was working from home, so I was not enough to actually see this person. But...
Oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah. Versus those that have to travel into the office.
Right.
Oh my goodness. Oh, well, listen, thank you so much. And hopefully we won't hear back from you for a long time because you'll have an amazing manager and no Bossholes in the future. How does that sound?
Absolutely. That works for me.
All right. We'll see you next time on the Bosshole Chronicles. We'd like to thank our guest today on the Bosshole Chronicles. And if you have a Bosshole Chronicles story of your own, please email us at mystory@thebossholechronicles.com. Once again, mystory@thebossholechronicles.com. We'll see you again soon.